I said, "Leave, Elena. You're not welcome here anymore." My own mother slammed the door in my face like I was a stranger. My father tossed my house keys onto the driveway like trash. I stood there, stunned, holding back tears, while they laughed behind the curtains, thinking they'd finally erased me. But what they didn't know, the house they were living in was already mine. Legally. Like, share, subscribe. This is about to get intense. It started 3 months ago. My mom, Lisa, had always favored my younger brother, Dylan. The golden child. The one who could wreck his car, lie about jobs, skip rent, and still be called responsible. Meanwhile, I, Elena, worked 2 jobs, paid half the bills, and stayed silent. But in their eyes, I was still the disappointment who didn't go to law school. One night at dinner, my father, Greg, announced Dylan was moving back into the house. He said I'd have to move out for a while because Dylan needed space to recover. Recover from what? Partying? Losing his 4th job this year. I told them, "This isn't fair." Mom snapped back, "Life's not fair, Elena. You're always so dramatic. Just go." I didn't fight. I just walked out, quietly, with my heart breaking, but my brain already working. See, what they didn't know was that the house had a messy mortgage issue last year. They were about to lose it. But I, using my savings and some smart investing, had paid off the remaining amount. I legally registered it under my name to protect them. I even kept paying utilities anonymously so they wouldn't feel embarrassed, but now they were kicking me out of my house. 2 days later, I got a text from Dylan, "Hope you found a place to crash. We're redecorating the house. No more of your sad artwork on the walls, lol." My hands were shaking. I couldn't believe the audacity. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I contacted the lawyer. That weekend, I returned, quiet, calm. But this time, not as their daughter, as the legal homeowner. They were throwing a party in the backyard when I walked in. Dylan was bragging to his friends about how he finally got the place back. My parents didn't even notice me at first. Until I stepped in front of the crowd, pulled out a single piece of paper, and said, "This house? It's mine. I have the deed. And you all have exactly 30 days to move out." Everyone froze. My mom's wine glass slipped from her hand. My father's face went pale. Dylan started laughing, thinking I was joking. I wasn't. My mom tried to play it off. "Elena, stop being ridiculous. You're embarrassing yourself." But the moment she saw the lawyer walking in behind me, with copies of the deed and signed papers, her tone cracked. My father stepped forward, grabbing the document. His hands trembled as he read my name, Elena Brooks, listed as the sole owner of the property. His silence said everything. Dylan stormed toward me, fake laughing. "This is a prank, right? You couldn't even afford a new phone last year. How would you buy this house?" I looked him straight in the eye. "While you were out drinking and begging for cash, I was investing. In crypto. In stocks. In myself. You know that room you thought was just full of books? That was my office. The business you mocked? It paid off." He scoffed, "You're bluffing." My lawyer calmly handed him a second document, the payment record. It showed every single mortgage payment made from my account. The final payoff. The notarized transfer. Dylan went from arrogant to speechless in 5 seconds. Then, I dropped the real bomb. "I'm not kicking you out yet. But if you want to stay, there will be rules. Rent. Respect. And no more treating me like trash." That's when my mother finally broke. "You ungrateful girl. We raised you. You owe us everything." I laughed. It was bitter. "You raised me? Or tolerated me until I was useful? When I got sick, you left me alone. When I graduated, you skipped the ceremony. And now that I own something, suddenly I'm important?" The backyard went quiet. Even their friends looked uncomfortable, but it wasn't over. One of the guests, a neighbor named Mrs. Harris, stepped up. She turned to my mom and said, "Lisa, didn't you tell us Elena ran away and abandoned you during the foreclosure? That she was too selfish to help?" I raised an eyebrow. "Foreclosure? You mean the one I prevented?" My mom's fake stories were unraveling fast. She looked like a child caught lying in front of the whole class, and just when I thought the drama was done, my father stepped forward and growled, "Fine. You bought the house. But blood is blood, and we're not going anywhere. Try getting us out." I smiled. "Gladly. You've just broken a lease you never had. The next morning, I sent the eviction notices, official, undeniable, and cold. Delivered by hand, taped to the front door for the entire neighborhood to see. In bold letters, notice to vacate, 30 days. Dylan tore his notice off the door. And stormed out in a rage, screaming into his phone. Probably calling one of his deadbeat friends to crash at their place. My mom stood frozen in the doorway, trying to hold back tears, not because she was sad, but because her pride was bleeding in public. That afternoon, my phone blew up, calls from uncles, cousins, even my godmother, people I hadn't heard from in years. Apparently, my mom was spinning stories already, that I tricked them, stole their home, and planned it for years like some evil mastermind. But I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I posted a video. Just 30 seconds long. Me standing in front of the house, holding the deed, with a caption that read, "They told me to leave. So I let them stay rent-free for 2 years. Then they told me I was useless. Now they can call me landlord." Within hours, the video went viral. I was flooded with comments like, "Underrated queen behavior. Imagine kicking out the owner of the house, loudly crying face, plot twist of the year." Meanwhile, inside the house, the tension was boiling. My dad refused to speak. My mom walked around slamming cabinets like that would reverse reality. Dylan had locked himself in his room for 2 days straight. He finally came out and shouted in my face, "You think you've won? This house is nothing. You're still just a nobody." That's when I calmly opened my laptop and turned the screen toward him. It showed my investment portfolio. My earnings from multiple small businesses I'd launched online. And a notification from my realtor, 2 new properties. Under my name, one of them in California. "This house?" I said. "It's just my starter property." He looked stunned. His mouth moved but no words came out. Then I hit them with the final blow, "I'm selling this house. You all have 30 days. After that, I don't care where you go." My mom started begging. Tears. Fake apologies. Promises of, "We can fix this," and, "We didn't mean to treat you like that." But it was too late. I had begged for love. Cried for their approval. Swallowed insults for years. But the one thing I never got was respect. And now, I didn't need their love. I had something better to power. They couldn't handle the reality that I had won, fairly, legally, and quietly. So instead of packing their things and moving on, they tried something dirty. 3 days after the eviction notice, I noticed a strange charge on my business account. A $4,900 withdrawal from an ATM I'd never used, in a city I hadn't visited. I froze. My heart dropped. I immediately called my bank's fraud department, and they confirmed the transaction came from someone using my backup debit card, a card I had locked away in a drawer at my parents' house months ago. I knew exactly who it was. Only one person had the nerve, Dylan. I confronted him directly. He was lounging on the couch in the living room, still pretending like he owned the place, when I walked in, holding the transaction printout. "Did you seriously think I wouldn't notice?" I asked. He didn't even flinch. "You left it here. Must not have been important." Then he smirked. "Besides, I figured you owed me something. You stole the house, remember?" I didn't speak. I just walked away. But in my head, something snapped. He had committed bank fraud. That wasn't a joke. And I had every right to press charges. But I also knew my mom would spin it. She'd cry to the whole family, tell them I was destroying Dylan's life, that I was too heartless to forgive. That night, I sat at my laptop and made the hardest decision of my life. I didn't call the cops. I called my lawyer and updated him on the theft. We filed a civil claim instead of a criminal one, for now. Dylan would have to appear in court, and the amount would triple with damages. Quiet, legal, and devastating. The next morning, the final letter arrived. Not for them, for me. A letter from Child Protective Services. I was confused, until I opened it. An anonymous report had been filed claiming I was mentally unstable, emotionally abusive, and dangerous around children. They were trying to discredit me using fake psychological claims, hoping it would affect my business and reputation. I sat down. My hands were shaking. These weren't just low blows, they were weapons. I knew exactly who had done it. My mother. I remembered her words from the night I first showed her the deed. "If you try to take everything from us, I'll make sure you regret it." She didn't need a knife to destroy me. She wanted to ruin my name. But this time, I wasn't going to play defense. I made a plan, one that would not only protect my name, but expose every single dirty trick they'd ever played. I compiled evidence, bank records, saved texts, voice memos, even old photos of bruises from years ago when my mother had accidentally pushed me down the stairs during a fight. I contacted my lawyer and a friend who worked with an investigative YouTube channel, and I gave them everything. 2 weeks later, a 20-minute expose video went live titled "The Family That Tried to Ruin Their Own Daughter and Failed Miserably." The video went viral, millions watched. Thousands commented. Strangers rallied behind me. Brands I worked with released statements of support. CPS cleared me completely. And Dylan? His bank fraud case became public, so did his old DUI records. The damage to them was irreversible. My mother called me the next day. She didn't sound angry, she sounded broken. "Elena, please take the video down. People at church won't even look at me." I stayed silent, then she whispered, "We'll move out quietly. Just stop the bleeding." I finally replied, "You started the bleeding. I just stopped hiding the wound." The message came from a man named Mark Reynolds. The subject line read, "You don't know me, but I know you." At first, I thought it was spam, until I opened the email. "Elena, I don't want to scare you. I've waited a long time to say this. I believe I'm your biological father. Lisa never told you the truth. I have proof. Please hear me out before you delete this." My stomach twisted. I stared at the screen for minutes, rereading the message, my fingers frozen above the keyboard. It sounded insane. But something inside me, something I couldn't explain, believed him. I replied, cautiously, "If you're telling the truth, send me proof." The next morning, he sent a photo. A birth certificate. A hospital file. A photo of my mom, much younger, pregnant, with him by her side. He wasn't lying. Mark explained everything. He and my mother dated when they were both in college. She got pregnant with me. When he asked her to marry him, she turned cold and disappeared. She married Greg, my so-called dad, within 6 months. And when I was born, Greg raised me as his own, but never legally adopted me. That explained everything: why Greg never looked at me the way he looked at Dylan, why he never called me his daughter in public, why my mother always treated me like a burden instead of her child. I wasn't part of their perfect little plan. I was the secret they had been hiding all my life. Mark told me he had searched for me years ago, but Lisa had legally shut every door. After seeing the viral video, he recognized my face instantly. "You look just like my sister," he wrote. "You have my mother's eyes." I met him a week later, in a quiet coffee shop outside the city. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't cry. He just looked at me like I mattered. Like I belonged somewhere. We sat for hours, talking, laughing. Awkwardly, catching up on years we never had. He told me he'd followed my business journey, admired my strength, and even supported some of my startups anonymously. "Elena," he said, "you didn't just survive. You built a life from ashes. That takes something rare." And in that moment, I realized something. Everything they took from me, love, support, stability, I had rebuilt it myself, and now, I finally knew the truth. I wasn't the outsider in the family. I wasn't the failure. I was the survivor of their lies. I sold the house 2 weeks later. My mother and Greg moved into a cramped apartment. Dylan? Still couch hopping, blaming the world. I never saw them again, but I didn't need to. I bought a new place in a better part of town, with a garden, sunlight in every room, and peace in every corner, and I invited Mark to dinner. As we sat in my new kitchen, laughing over burnt lasagna and bad wine, he looked around and said, "This place feels like you. Strong, warm, unshakable." I smiled, because for the first time in my life, I was finally home.